Hello guys, we are back with another what if My Hero Academia what if, or what if Deku what if. So, this is going to be part 2 to what if Deku had the Ope Ope no Mi, or the Op fruit operator. So, quick dialogue or quick summary. The Op fruit is a fruit that allows you to create a dome, transparent dome, and it can expand as much as you want, or not as much as you want, but it expands far, and it allows you to control anything within the dome. And the reason is, well, it's operator no Mi, so it's more you're just operating in a set domain that you make, but it's like it's the real world. Just climbed up the stairs a lot. Anyways, let's just get on to part 2. So I think we left off during the time of those 10 tests that they were doing, where Deku, of course, aced it, and he also aced the entrance exams. He destroyed a lot of robots, and yeah. So we just held on to a time where they are now in class. Now that they are in class, Bakugo, he's a little pissed because he sees, Deku, this kid who took the spotlight from him. Now, of course, he did have 10 months to train with that fruit, so it's like he's very strong. And he's borderline, well, actually, I'm not even gonna say that. Deku at this point has to be the strongest hero at this moment. But no one knows that, and he's obviously holding back most of the time. Because, look, if you have the power to decapitate anyone and they don't die, you can literally just have them in shambles and disassemble them. So, yeah. Anyways, let's get on to the class. So, Deku enters the classroom, takes his seat. Aizawa is talking with him and everything. They start teaching. As after that, the lunch bell rings as they all go to lunch. Now, of course, Deku deciding, he ain't gonna chill with these guys, decides to leave the school grounds to actually go get food outside. And yeah, he comes back as lunch is over. Now, as he makes it back, Aizawa is now telling them that they are all gonna go to the training grounds and have one-on-one battles with each other. Now, of course, we haven't done that USJ thing. We haven't done the sports festival. I'm holding off on that, guys. But anyways, we have a lot of moves that we can do. Most counter shock, or just regular shock that he uses. By the way, he's more of a surgeon than an actual, Law is more of a surgeon. Anyways, we make it to the training ground. As Bakugo is just fuming, he wants to fight Deku. He's ready. He's like, yeah, I'm gonna kick your ass. Anyways, we just have a time, okay? To where, Aizawa decides to put up Bakugo versus Deku. Now, as this battle continues, or as this battle starts, Bakugo would explode himself forward, trying to hit Deku with an explosion. But Deku would just say, room. And then he would then say, shambles. Now, as he says shambles, the explosion that is heading towards him, would actually start heading towards Bakugo, because he just swapped positions with Bakugo, as Bakugo would get hit by it, not taking damage because obviously it's his own explosion. But, I really think, because friendly fire has to be a thing. Honestly, you could accidentally shoot yourself with ice. So yeah. Anyways, let's just continue with the battle. As Deku would make quick and easy work of Bakugo, actually cutting his arms off. Now, of course, he can still move his arms. He's not hurt physically. It's just, I'll say, they're detached from his body. So Bakugo's like, what the hell? Deku, you better put my arms back where they were. Deku would then say, nope, forfeit, and I'll put your hands back together, or arms back together. As Aizawa, obviously not liking this, would tell him to actually go put his arms back. As Deku obviously does it, or Izuku. I'm gonna call him Izuku. No, Deku. It's Deku. As he does so, a lot of people are bewildered by this. because, they seen this technique, but they never seen it on a human. As they're like, what, Uraraka would then say, like, that's an interesting technique, Deku. Or Izuku. I don't know how she would call him. No, she does call him Deku sometimes. Okay. As, Deku would just say, thanks, I guess. I had a lot of training with it, I guess. As Uraraka would say, so, can you actually explain your quirk even better to me then? As, Deku would say, well, I'm actually quirkless, but this is a power that I have. It allows me to create a dome called a room, and I'm allowed to control anything that's in that said dome. She would be, bewildered, because this is like a technique that is outside boundaries. It's more of a actual power than a quirk, because a quirk is related to your body. So it's like that's not related to your body. You're making a dome and it's spreading everywhere. And you're able to control anything in that dome. So it's a little bit weirder, because that's like space-time at that point. Which I did say on the first part. I'm pretty sure I said that. But anyways, let's just continue with the fights. The fights go down. As 2 weeks would go by, this is when, Aizawa would then be talking with them, saying that they're gonna have a USJ, unforeseen simulation joint. I'm pretty sure that's how you say it. Unforeseen simulation joint. Okay. Aizawa says that they will be doing some missions or simulations to simulate how it would feel to rescue people. Now, Aizawa would then say, and you, Deku, since your technique is so versatile, I'll say you're gonna have a fun time at that place. Especially with that technique, Shambles, I say. As, Deku would be like, yeah, it's a part of my technique. I'm able to teleport people with objects or swap people with other objects. It's just like Boogie Woogie, guys. It's actually like Boogie Woogie, but on a higher scale. So, yeah. And it's actually, like, you don't have to clap, okay? You don't clap. They just teleport. So, like, let's say you have, like, a chair right next to you and a person right in front of you. Then you could say Shambles, and that person is, like, swapping with that chair, and the chair is where that person is standing. So hopefully that's a better analogy. So anyways, about 2 hours would go by as they all make it there. Meet Uraraka, Ida, I don't know, that guy, freaking engine, there we go. And I'll say, well, who is it? Mina, the pink one, and one with the creation. That's like their little friend group right there, along with Deku. So they're walking there as they make it, as, they see this place, and they're like all like, whoa, this place is cool. As what, is Kirishima? Yeah, Kirishima would be like, I can't wait, I'm already fired up. As, if you guys don't know his quirk, I'm pretty sure it's a hardening one where he just makes his body into rock. And I'm pretty sure Tetsu is the steel, where he turns his body into steel. So yeah, actually. Anyways, this is when 13 would actually appear, as she would like be telling them about her quirk and everything, saying that she has the ability to, she has the powers of a black hole, like literally. And, Deku just is like, wow, that's an interesting technique. As this is when, a disturbance would begin. As a portal forms, how they are on that tall, like, platform, and, like, they have to climb all those stairs down? The villains appear where that, what is it called? Where, like, water, a fountain, my bad. They appear where the fountain is at, as all the villains would, be there. As Deku would just smirk. As he says, room. Now, as he says room, a dome would begin to form, or spread out from his position, as it covers the entire USJ. Then this is when Deku's voice would boom out. You all are fools. Villains coming here? Well, now, you all are trapped in my dome, my room, you can say. As the villains hearing like his voice, they're like, where the hell is this kid? As Kurogiri would show up, using his portal, trying to separate all the students. as Deku would just go through the portal as he appears in the water. Now, this is when one of the villains in the water would be there, as Moneta and Sue, my bad. Moneta and Sue. And I'm pretty sure Moneta is that boy with the grape hair. It just looks like grapes, I'm not gonna lie. Because it's like, he has purple hair. It's like a sort of purple hair, and it's just like, yeah. Anyways, those, they appear, they get on the boat, and Deku is just completely annihilating the water-based quirk villains. They try to jump him, but he's just cutting them in half, and they're still alive. They don't feel pain because they're not actually getting cut in half. They're just getting disassembled in a way. Anyways, after that, Deku decides he's gonna make all the water float, as he says tacto. Now, all the water starts to float as like the villains everywhere are like, what the hell is going on in the water sector? As is when Deku would then say, shock. As everybody in the water at the moment, all the villains, crisped. Now, of course, they're not dead because Deku can't really do that. If he wants to, he can, but he has to hold off on that. Now, Moneta and Sue see this as, this is when Deku would cut like a boulder from the riverbed, as he would then make it float as he stands on it, and then starts to float towards Moneta and Suyu as they are on the boat and the boat's floating. This is when, he tells them to get on as they do so. Now, we have a time to where Aizawa, or Eraserhead, is fighting a Nomu, an enhanced superhuman that is supposed to kill All Might, or is designed to kill the #1 top hero, All Might. Now, of course, he's struggling. He's getting whooped. There's no hope for him. As this is when Deku would show up with Sue and Moneta, as, Deku uses Tacto, making Aizawa float, as this is when he gives them all, he gives him over to Moneta and Sue, as they run to go and, help him heal. Now, Shigaraki would be looking at this brat, or as he would say, brat, and he'd be like, Nomu, kill that brat. But before Nomu could even do anything, Nomu's already cut into like 10 pieces, and of course, still conscious with no pain. Being disassembled, this is when, Deku would float his head to him and be like, so, what the heck is this bird-looking thing? As Shigaraki would say, that's not fair. Kurogiri, get us out of here. As, Kurogiri does so, and obviously I'm only doing that because of plot, because I'm not sure what happens after season 2. I am sorry, I thought I watched all of season 2. I'm at the part with the hero killer stain has that crazy aura. I'm not gonna lie, bro, it's aura farming. So yeah, anyways, let's just continue. All Might shows up. All the other villains are just there, as Deku decides to make them all float, as he says tacto. Now, of course, he puts back the villains that he disassembled previously, and then would say, so, let's play a little game. He's about to swap all their souls. Like, he's about to make everybody into a different body. Like, literally, he's about to switch their bodies. But this one, All Might shows up saying, hold on there, now Izuku. We need these people for questioning, so we need to know exactly who they are. As Deku decides, he's just gonna make sure they all are restrained, as he, of course, forms the ground and makes the ground into, like, cuffs, as the cuffs would be latched onto the villains. Now, after this is when we have a time to where, All Might and the authorities would show up along with a lot of top heroes, like, what I can think of is Endeavor, Mount Lady, and the bunny person. I don't know their name. But anyways, this is what happens. The villains are taken in. Of course, Shigaraki and Kurogiri are gone. But a lot of people seeing like Deku's power are like impressed, because he just took out a Nomu. Something that whooped their own teacher. Their own teacher was getting absolutely demolished by this thing. Deku shows up and handles it in 10 seconds by disassembling the Nomu. Crazy work. Now, of course, All Might is like, so what's the limit to your power, huh? As, of course, Deku would say, anything that's not in my dome, I can't control. That's the limit. As you know, of course, he can make this dome like as big as a half a mile or a mile. I'm not sure, but you know what? Probably even more than that. Probably like 2 miles. Just for the sake of it, I'll say he can make the room as big as he wants, because you know what? Deku's supposed to be overpowered in this what if. So, yeah. Anyways, by the way, I might be stopping at episode 4. I mean, yes. My bad. Part 4, I'm gonna stop at. Just like the one I did in, What If Deku was like Aoi Todo, or What If Deku was the reincarnation of Aoi Todo. So, yeah. Anyways, continue. Sorry. So, we continue on to, after the events. So, Deku is being questioned in the teacher's lounge by All Might, Aizawa, and President Mike. As they're like, how strong are you? Because, you know, we've never seen a quirk like this. As Deku would explain, it's not really a quirk. He just ate a fruit and it gave him a power called the Ope Ope no Mi. As All Might would be like, so, you are quirkless, but you have a power. Interesting, kid. So glad I did train you for 10 months. As yes, All Might did train him. But he didn't give him a quirk. That's going to go on to Mirio. Mirio is going to get the quirk. And, come on now. Mirio ain't doing nothing to to Deku. So, of course, Mirio ain't going to become the top number 1 hero. You have someone who's able to control anything in a dome like he's a god, okay? Can't really do much against that. You can't walk through walls and then expect to win against a man with the Ope Ope no Mi. But anyways, this is when, a couple of days would go by as news about the sports festival would have begin. So yeah. Let's say I do want to make my own filler, of course. I do want to do that. So I'll say during those days, we have a time to where, like, let's say Aizawa says the sports festival is tomorrow. Of course, he's still injured a lot, as he expects Deku to be ready. As like the next day rolls around, or actually not yet. The night it turns nighttime. As school ends and everything. Deku is just pondering the streets. He's just like prowling the streets. He's ready to get rid of any villain. As one day, tonight, he runs into a villain. Now, of course, this villain is very dangerous, having the ability to, increase their speed by like 10 to 20 times. So yeah, as they have like a sword, they're like a ninja type of villain. So anyways, Deku starts to fight this villain. Of course, he takes a little bit of damage. As this is when he dodges a strike aimed for his neck, he would then say "Room," as he's then just shambles, teleporting around, as this villain is being like disoriented at this. Like disoriented? What? Yeah, my fault. I did say it correctly. I was just tripping. Anyways, as this is going on, this villain decides to use one of their other quirks, because of course it's going to be a super strength and super speed quirk. As Deku actually gets hit by this, as his like left arm would kind of break. Now, as this happens, this is when Deku would have cut the arm, as he's actually like his Echo Knife is able to reach the villain. Since the villain was like going so fast, his Echo Knife couldn't hit and it couldn't slice his arm. But this time, he actually cuts the villain's arm. We'll call this villain like Night Shadow or something, something cool. As this happens, this is when the villain would send the katana as it hits Deku in his right shoulder. Now, as this happens, Deku decides he's gonna use something. Now, of course, I only know most of the moves from the actual from Blox Fruits, the game. And yes, I have watched the anime, but hey man, I forgot all about LOL. But anyways, he just says counter shock, as anything in the dome just got completely shocked, except he was obviously controlling it, so he only targeted it to this one villain. As this villain gets technically cooked, as this is when he kind of disassembles his arms, just making sure that he can't move, as he just bunches him up into a box. That sounds crazy. Of course, the villain is still alive as he brings him into like the hero commission. He puts the villain back together as the villain is now tied and sent to Tartarus. Now, of course, this villain was pretty strong, and I'll say this was one of like, let's say one of the villains that were like accomplice to Stain, or hero killer Stain. Now, of course, with this battle, you know, this was probably the only match for him because I'm sorry, but someone who could match your speed, they outrunning Echo Knife, and you know, there's not much you can do with the Ope no Mi from that. But what I can say is Deku kind of fumbled in this fight because all he had to do was say Takto and everything around him was going to start floating. And that's when he would be able to, you know, kill the villain. Or not kill the villain, but, you know, because of course heroes can't kill villains apparently, which is stupid. Because I see it like, if you see a dangerous guy trying to kill people, bro, I'm not going to lie. Shing, you got to do that, man. You got to do it. Anyways, let's just get on to a time to where the next day rolls around. As Deku makes it to Class 1A, Aizawa starts talking about the UA Sports Festival as they make their way to there. Now, 1 hour goes by as they make their way to the stadium. Giant doors, as a whole entire crowd of people are there. Now, of course, I'll say this, Deku is about to have a field day. He's about to be like, oh, I'm about to whoop everybody here. I'm going to be the top hero. And, you know, he says this and everything. It's like, Bakugo would get mad. You know how he is. He's always competitive with Deku. So, yeah. Anyways, let's just get on to a time to where the gates open as they all file into the stadium. As they start to get ready for the first one. President Mike would be saying. All right, let's hear it, folks. Let's give a round of applause to all the students down there. As, you know, Class 1A enters and everything like that. As a lot of people would be, like, cheering because they see Deku. They see the kid who's, like, as strong as All Might at this point. I'll say in technique, not strength-wise, but in technique, he's stronger than All Might. And what I mean by that is, even though, yes, All Might is strong, his technique is strong, but Deku's technique is stronger, okay? There's no fighting something that can create a dome. Anyways, we are about to begin the sports festival. So, sports festival is going to be on part 3. So, yeah, I'm ending this part. So, yeah, anyways, really hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure to like, subscribe, comment down below. More videos will like this is going to be out. And, yeah, really hope you guys enjoyed. Peace.